Computer. Hey everyone, welcome to our Classroom Conversations, a little half an hour event, interactive event where you got the chance to ask some questions and hear a bit about the journey from teaching into coaching and anything else. So not really sure where we're going to go with this, but that's also very exciting. So Justin, Claire, Breeza, Ebane, I hope I got your name right, and Louise, welcome along. We'll probably have some more people join us. Before we do this, I think let's just have a little check-in because we all probably had some busy days. So I'm going to share a little acronym with you to kick us off. And I invite everyone to do that with me. If you've got a pen, you just want to write out the word calm into your notes. And we take on all this emotion and all these different states, throughout our day. And just to ground ourselves right now in where we are. Yes, Claire Parrish. This is a blast in the past. Hey, Claire. Great to see you, Claire. It's been a long time. Hope you're good. We're just getting grounded in a little exercise just to settle ourselves into this little session for half an hour. It's called Calm. So what I want to do for me is just to check in, and that's what the C stands for in this little acronym. So check in and just write down, what emotion are you currently experiencing? Right now, what emotion are you currently experiencing? And it could be tiredness, it could be excitement, it could be fatigue. But just jot down what emotion you're currently experiencing. Once we've done that, the A, so I'll just type this into the chat alongside it. So we've got check-in. And I love this one. I'm big into meditation and breath work. The A stands for airway. And for me, I just love box breathing. I think it's super simple. I was just working with a student before this in our coaching session, 13-year-old lad. A lot of anger from the past for sure, but we're about helping him, understand that anger, right? And deal with it in a better way. So the C or the A stands for airway. So we can do this together. You're going to take a breath into your nose for a count of 4. You're going to hold it for 4. You're going to exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. Then you're going to hold for 4. And we'll do 3 rounds. All right. So when you're ready, the invitation is to just exhale and then inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and inhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. And then just bring your breathing back to normal. And if you've closed your eyes, just open your eyes. Now the L stands for let go. And you might have heard that quote, it's okay not to be okay. The L stands for let go. I want you to grab your pen and just justify that emotion that you wrote at the start. So if you're feeling a bit tired today, if you're feeling a bit stressed or even happy and excited, whatever it is, just justify that emotion and just write down, what's the reason for you feeling that way? And then the last one for M is just to make space. And it's crazy whenever we go through our day, especially if I've had it today, we don't ever pause and ask ourselves, what do I really need right now? And that's what the M is. It's the invitation to make some space, to take a new action, to do something different. And what do you need right now in this moment? So I've used this with different students across my coaching journey, which we're going to get into today. But it's about allowing young people just that chance to pause, to take that mindful breath, to realize it's okay to experience that emotion or thought, and then also to ask, what do I need right now? So thank you so much for being here, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Good to see some old faces. My name is Sam, founder of Student Breakthrough and the Educators Coaching Academy. The purpose of this event is just to have a deep dive into some questions around coaching and teaching and all of that stuff. I think most of you know me, but I'll share a brief bit about my story. For me, I just felt like there wasn't enough help or support in the education system to enable our students to flourish and fly. For me as a staff member, I was very anxious and I didn't really feel like I had the support, to grow and to be the best teacher I could be. And it led me into this whole path of personal development and coaching. And right now we're at a really cool place where we're working with teachers and bringing coaching more into schools, training kids, training staff, and really transforming the culture of schools by coaching, because that's the thing where I believe mental health support is lacking, and mental health support can be much better, much improved if we brought coaching into the space. So let's kick off. Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask? I've got some ones that people have sent because we had some apologies. People couldn't make this. But has anyone got any questions they'd like to type in the chat or unmute?
Hi, Sam. I wonder if you could share what your most memorable coaching experience has been.
Yeah, nice. I think it might be the first session I ever did. Well, when I was getting into this back in 2017, I was a teacher. I'd had coaching myself in 2015, but it was the first time where I'd helped a student just uncover a bit more about themselves and kind of dig for the truth, a bit more about what was going on for them. And he left the session and I said, how was it? And he said, it was just so great to be listened to and heard and respected. And I got in my car and I was living in Milton Keynes at the time. And I was driving back down the A5. And it was the impact of not just teaching history, but helping a young person with their mental health. And I just started welling up in the car. It was summer, it was quite a hot day. I just remember this feeling of like purpose, because you served a student not with academics, but more with a deeper, I guess, a deeper approach with their mental health. And it was actually that moment in the car, Justin, where I realized that this is what I wanted to do. And it was that revelation of, okay, let's leave teaching and focus on something outside the classroom. So yeah, that was a big springboard.
Awesome, thank you.
No worries, mate. Great question. Anyone else like to ask? We've got Julie Keys in the room. Hey, Jules. Good to see you here. You haven't missed much. We've just got some preloaded questions, but if you've got any questions to ask Jules about coaching or teaching, I know you're in this space as well, then you're more than welcome. Breeze has got a question here. What was it like for you? What was it like for you to experience coaching? What, me, Breezer, personal experience in coaching? Yeah, I think I was in such a low place. It got to the point where I cried in front of a group of students. I couldn't get into school and teach. I felt so isolated in the teaching profession. Even though you think you've got loads of support as a teacher, sometimes you can feel very like isolated and cut off. And I remember the day I actually put this day on my calendar. That's why I remember it, because I had this coaching session, went to my year calendar, and put a big cross on it on the 23rd of April, 2015. And I've been taught that sort of toxic masculinity of man up, pull your socks up, don't show emotion, that kind of stuff. And for someone in that moment, and it wasn't even transformational coaching, he just listened to me basically and asked me some questions as a 24-year-old guy. And I think the biggest thing which I really embrace coaching for is this non-judgmental approach, showing up with our clients with no judgment. And for me, obviously talking to family and friends is great. But speaking to someone in a non-judgmental way is just more powerful, because you have more chance to express yourself. So that was the moment for me that then I went round this park in Milton Keynes. I was like, I felt all this pressure off my shoulders because I just expressed myself. And that was the first moment of true like breakthrough I had in coaching. And there's been moments since. Like I've got a great therapist at the moment. I'm in a great men's group. I've got another coach, and you still get these moments of like penny drop and ahas, but I don't think anything beat that first session of just having someone just hear me out. And I went back into school and became such a better teacher because of that moment. And I know Jules does great work with coaching teachers as well, and they just don't have the time to really pause. And I had that time, but I had to give the time to myself. So if we can help more teachers in school with this, then they won't get to that point of crying in front of a group or not getting into school and teaching. And, we've got recruitment issues. We've got, training teacher numbers are down by 42%. And this is why, coaching can build resilience of staff. I firmly believe that. Ebane, I hope I got your name right. How long were you teaching before you left? I taught for 5 years. And I never thought I would be a teacher, but I never thought I'd leave because I do love it. And I think one day I would like to go back into it. But the way I see it at the moment is it's sort of like pushing a boulder up a hill. And this, if you're in education, you might relate to this because we do so much great work. Like we can go and do some great work in education, but it's the system is not in place to support mental health, of staff and students. So if I was going to go back into school, I think I'd want to have at least improved the mental health support and brought coaching more into the education system. That's my bigger kind of aim. Instead of just working and coaching, I'm quite a big visionary. Like I ran this event, I was like, I'm going to run an event called the Education Disruptor and change everything about education. But it's a big old thing, lots of politics involved. And I think if you can just narrow down on one focus, for me, it's mental health, then you can really start to improve things. And the more we can have these conversations, the more people that are doing this work, the better. Because coaching it's sort of like the gateway into talking therapy. I think it's quite a soft approach to get people to open up and share. And for a lot of teachers that have never looked within for the answers, it can be really transformational just by scratching the surface a little bit and getting to pause. Can lead to, massive transformation. It's I was thinking about this the other day. I used to be a little bit chubby back in the day. And when you start going to the gym and eating well, the weight just flies off you really quick. You make really quick gains. And it's the same for teachers. If you're a teacher that's been in the profession for 40, 50 years, if you're in your 40s and 50s, whatever, you've never done any work, the first little bit of coaching can be like, whoa, like loads of growth really fast. And you can implement it really fast. So yeah, I'd like to go back again into teaching because I do love it. I love teaching history. But for me, mental health is more important than history. I never thought I'd say that. Anyone else got any questions? I've got some preloaded ones here, like I said, but it's good to keep it interactive. So we've got one here, which is, would you have stayed in teaching if conditions were better? Or do you think you would have gone into coaching anyway? Yes, Kate Somerville. Got more people joining us. Hey, Kate, good to see you. Just a question here, Kate. Would you have stayed in teaching if conditions were better, or do you think we'd have gone into coaching anyway? I don't know about that one. I think for me, the teaching profession at the time, while it still is not really set up in the way to support mental health, but I think I would still probably been a teacher. And if you are a teacher on here and you've left, you might want to think about that. Like, would you stay in teaching if it was really great? And for me, I would. And it's not even about the money for me, because no one actually becomes a teacher to be a millionaire, right? They're going to make an impact and really change the world. And I wish I could have stayed. Sometimes you get a calling, right? There's bigger fish to fry. But let's say we had like actual great CPD and mental health support. Let's say we were teaching less classes. Let's say the pressure and assessment, the pressure on assessment was different. I'd love to have stayed. Because I miss those interactions, those daily interactions with kids. You just don't get doing what I do now. Like I work with a student just now, coaching them one-on-one. It's great, but you don't have that dynamic. And we just did some work at a school in Portugal here, where we were training the students in coaching, year 11 and year 13. And I was in my element, just being back around that energy, and just connecting with students in that way. So I don't think I'd have left. I think I'd still be there. Don't know what I'd be doing. Maybe head of history now or something like that. But no, I'm glad I'm doing this. So Kate, we're just opening up to 3 questions at the moment, but we've got some preloaded ones. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Great to see you here. The youngest age. Yes, when I started off this business, I was working mainly with secondary school kids. Typically like 16 to 18, because they were the important years, right? A lot of parents or schools would invest in this coaching because they're coming up to exams. And that was the typical age. And then I started doing work in primary school. And I coached coaching is a loose term. I think the younger you go with a student, the more you kind of blend into mentoring and a bit of teaching. But I worked with a 7-year-old, and my brother was a year 1 teacher at school. So I had my secondary school program, which I made. It's called the 3Bs: Boost, Believe, and Breakthrough. And I was like, well, I went to Ben, my brother. I said, how can we adapt this to primary school? And we did some different like interactive things where instead of, we do a tool called the breakthrough wheel. It's like the wheel of life. It's pretty standard in coaching. But for the younger students at primary school, I laid out glow sticks on the floor, because the wheel can look quite overwhelming, this tool. So if you lay out these glow sticks, the student can then walk up to where they place themselves on the number line between 1 and 10, sit down, and then we can draw some pictures, we can discuss it and things like that. So I like to think about 10 or 11 is a like a young age to coach, like year 5, year 6. Again, I did some empathy work, an empathy map, which is helping students to better understand other people, right? I did it with some year 5 students, so they're 10 years old. And it was interesting. I did this empathy task and the girls got it straight away. They understood empathy at that age. They really like could put themselves in someone else's shoes. And then I did it with a group of the boys, and they just didn't understand. They didn't grasp it at that age, and it just went straight over their heads. So I think you've got to be really careful with how you approach things. And also, I got trained in quite like an ICF level style coaching, which is basically just asking questions and putting everything on the client, coaching in its purest form, which is great for adults. As you work with students, like coaching students and children is way harder than coaching adults, way harder. Seen some heads being nodded there. And when I started, I was like, yeah, ICF coach, just like a robot, right? Just asking questions. And you realize that students actually need a bit of human. They need that humor. And I then ended up bringing like more of that energy, my energy, into the sessions. And look, if you got to mentor someone a little bit, if you got to offer a suggestion, if you got to guide them in a little way because they're young, that's okay. I just had a session with a 12-year-old boy, and we paused because his cats were in the room, and we were like talking about his cats for a bit, and he had this Godzilla background, and we were talking about that. And look, we still set some actions, we still got to the end result that he wanted, but it was a way more like friendly way. And I think we just got to show up for the client and coach the client, not the problem, right? Okay. You've been successful in establishing business. Who coached you, or has it been a lonely journey? It has been lonely. Get my violin out. It was been a little bit lonely at points. I love working in a team, and being in a school, you're in a big team of kids, team of staff. And I remember the day, it was 2018, September the 1st. My little brother went back to school. He was a teacher, and I was sat on my laptop. And that's actually where I met Claire. I haven't seen Claire in a while, but I met Claire at a networking group, and I was like, okay, I'll go into networking groups. And I was all over the place because I didn't have that team environment. And then 4 months later, I was back at school getting a supply teaching job because I had no idea how to like run a business. And it was actually that moment of going back into education, which was the moment where I started coaching kids in school. And these were like PP, looked after children, stereotypically tougher students than I was working with outside. And that gave me a great foundation. So that was actually a really great blessing. And then, yeah, who coaches me? I've had some great coaches along the way. At the moment, I'm just in a men's group. It's called the Awaken. It sounds a bit, not cringe. I like it. It's called the Awaken Man Project. And for guys, it's so important. I think stereotypically, like, women are much better at opening up. But in this circle, it's like a place where guys can be really vulnerable. We talk about business, we talk about coaching, but it's really been transformational for me. So I've got that support group. I've had a psychotherapist for the last year. I never thought I needed therapy, but therapy and coaching combined is really nice. Because the therapy, you're going back to when you're very early on, like childhood trauma, with a small T for me. Everyone's got trauma of different scales. And then the coaching alongside is obviously way more present focused. And again, that comes back to how we support students in the classroom. I think counseling, I've had counseling as well. And at my school at the time, we had a long list of students needing to see the school counsellor. Bless her, little old dear in some pokey office in the school, not an inspiring place, and a lovely woman, maybe not that inspiring. And it was just like digging up a lot of past pain for students and not really doing anything with it. I just think we're missing a trick. I just think coaching is like way more accessible for most. It's faster, it's actionable, and I think it's way more fun. And it's a bit more of like a game. It's like not a game, but it's like a challenge, right? Those action steps, we achieved it. Can we move forward instead of what's been going wrong? And that's why that school got me in at that time to work with their PP and LAC students, because they were about to sit their GCSEs. Like they don't actually really care about them GCSEs, which sounds wrong. They wanted to give them some life skills for the future. So if we're doing counseling, digging up the past, it's not really there. So that's why the coaching, I think, is really important. And it has been a little bit lonely, but I've got a team now, which is really cool. Do you think boys naturally have difficulties with empathy, or is it taught? Anyone want to answer that one? Anyone want to unmute on that one? Do you think boys naturally have difficulty with empathy, or is empathy a taught thing?
I think it comes with maturity for boys more so than girls. I think girls naturally have it at a younger age. But I do think for most boys, and this is very stereotypical again, but I think they learn better empathy skills with maturity. That's my opinion.
See that? Because I know you're a head teacher, right? So like, did you ever see that?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So I think you get those moments when it would suddenly click with certain boys. They think, "Oh yeah, do you know, I can see that now in someone," and you'd have to talk them through it and explain to them. So that's why it's interesting earlier when you said it's okay to help children in the coaching process, because I think they do need those prompts, particularly boys. I think it's really important that you kind of give them examples and just help them perhaps a bit more than you would with the girls. I hope that doesn't come across as sexist in any way.
No, I think you're good, Justin. Thanks, mate.
Can I add to that, Sam, as
Go for
well?
it. Yeah, go for it.
I think it's also the cultural constraints that boys, there is this expectation as well, and it's so hard. And I think, you know, what you're doing with coaching and generally, hopefully what schools are increasingly doing is helping with that. But there is still this pervading culture of don't show your emotions, don't show your feelings. And that is so hard to break down. So I think, I hope, and I do think genuinely that the empathy is there, but there's that barrier to showing it as well because of the culture.
Yeah, I like that. It's like an empathy barrier, which actually is maybe why those boys, if I go back to that example, I've never actually thought about this, but they could understand empathy, but actually being empathetic in front of their friends was a sign of weakness, which is quite sad, obviously. Maybe that's why it didn't land. Maybe they actually did know it, but they just didn't have the courage to speak out. All right, go, we're flying through it. If schools don't necessarily have a free period for coaching, what kind of subjects would you pair with? That's a good question. It's kind of like, how would you love to see coaching in school? I mean, schools obviously have those PSHE sessions, which are really good in some ways. I think we could bring more coaching elements into those sessions. A lot of the work that we do with our teachers, you can implement it really quick. So it could be like in that conversation in the corridor at the end of the lesson. It's not like a big coaching session that you need to like formally do, but ultimately you need more hours in the day, because that's one thing we don't have as teachers is time. And again, that's why coaching is great, because it's just that kind of fast conversations if you can learn the strategies to do it. Yeah, I think again, like you mentioned here about anti-bullying, Breezer. Again, an important topic. I just wish schools would open up, but there's some really forward-thinking schools out there, which is great. But there's so many schools that are stuck in their ways and won't bring new elements in. Even though you can show that you're getting great results, it's about finding the forward-thinking head teacher or principal that is really willing to transform and change things. And yeah, I think you're right. It can go deeper and be a bit more helpful. Nice. What other questions have we got? Whoa, okay. In a previous school, we trained students in coaching these 3 registrations a week. Yeah, nice. They coach. That's kind of what we're doing at St. Julian's, Kate, the other day. Not in that formal way, but of them peer coaching. But again, the impact was really there to see. What's the best way to get work with schools as a coach? Have patience, Claire. Have patience. we've been using a strategy at the moment where we've been creating these personalized support plans for schools. And Justin's been actually a great help in that. And we've been doing this really in-depth marketing where we research the school in detail. It takes about 2 hours. We do like what they're doing well, what could be improved, how we could help them. But nothing's come of it. And I use the metaphor of if someone's drowning at sea and they've got the waves crashing over their heads, even if you've got the life raft or the what are they called, armbands to save the person, if they're so swamped, it's really hard for them to actually open their eyes and realize, oh, there's that's what can save me. And in my honest, I think the best way of working with schools and getting into schools as a coach is through your network, through finding someone and getting in that way. Because again, I don't, this is no like judgment on them because I've been there and it's tough. And even the fact that they see your email or they see your phone calls arrived means that they've got to then spend more time to action that, which they haven't got any time to do. So it's a slow process, but it's where the impact is, because then you're helping loads of people. Like the gig in Portugal 3 weeks ago, you know, we had like 200 people there being helped instead of just one-on-one. So, and then the benefit is business is simple, right? You do a good job, you get rebooked, and that's what's happened. So we're still early days with the Educators Coaching Academy stuff. So maybe it's just repeat business and referrals. But I've also done the other option, Claire, which is I call it the shotgun approach, which is just like blanket emailing people and hoping that you'll get a nibble. So both approaches haven't really been smooth. That's me being honest with you. I'd love to sit here and say I've got the golden strategy for working with schools. Hoping I'll work on it one day. Louise, what options are there to help people get into coaching? Yeah, so we've got 3 ways you can work or get on board what we're doing. We've got an offer for Black Friday actually tomorrow. So we've got an ECA, a community space. I'll actually show you guys our community. So we wanted to bring people together a bit like today, because I said teaching can feel quite isolating. So I'll just show my screen here, but a part of what we do is we run events and we have a community. So this looks a little bit confusing, but just check out the events here. So as part of our community where people pay 25 quid a month, they get access to loads of great guest speakers. They get option to be coached and have coaching practice. They can join different exercises and tools and find out and learn more from our team. So we've got the community, which is slowly building. We just got 100 members, which is like really fantastic. So that's one way you can get involved. The other way is if you want to do a bit of study, we've got a course called Excellence, which is an 8-module guided course. There's my mugshot. Very old picture there now. This is like a little intro to coaching. And it's like 8 modules and we can take you through different elements and it's self-guided. You get the community support for the year and you look at different coaching tools and strategies and exercises. And then the last thing we've got is our ECA Elite program, which is an ICF accredited course. So it's a 6-month course. You're in the community for a year and you get to become an ICF, International Coach Federation accredited coach, which is important because it's a high level. Lots of schools and industries want to see that qualification. So that's how you can work with us. We've got a Black Friday deal on the community at the moment, which is 25 quid a month, or you can pay up front, which is 195. And that means you get like 12 guest speaker slots, access to coaching and some resources as well. Yeah, so we're actually at past. So if anyone wants to shoot off, feel free. But I've got a few more questions to answer. So we'll just keep rolling and see if we get on. Am I creating links for schools? The best approach to teachers. Yeah, Claire, what do you mean by that, by the way? You want to unmute maybe? Hey.
Hello. I wasn't sure if your coaching academy was like training people and then you had like links to schools already or built up that intervention with the schools that are in England. I wasn't sure about your like position in Portugal and what you were doing here. So I just wondered if you were training people on the ICF with spaces to go in and help schools, for example.
Yeah, it's a great question. And some people do. There's like the team that came out to Portugal, for instance, they'd all done the ECA Elite course. So Paul and Nick are my 2 trainers and they train teachers as well. And then Laura and Gemma also have done that course, and they've come out and helped as well. So there's always that option. And I think as we grow, I think 2024 is going to be a really big year for us. And who knows where it's going to be, but it's about getting the right like-minded and like-valued people together. So yeah, there is that option. That's how we really create links, I think, and scale, right? And help more people. So working with Paul and Nick and Gemma and Laura, it was a really great moment, because my new home of Portugal, I had the team come out, the students were getting value, the teachers, everyone was winning. It was just like this beautiful moment. So yeah, it was really cool. So we'll see about that. I mean, thank you, got to go. Claire's got to leave, she'll be locked out. So yeah, what we'll do, we'll send out this offer tomorrow about the ECA community. The last question we'll do, and then we'll wrap up. Louise, where do you see yourself in your coaching in the future? For me, I want to do more work internationally. Me and Jules were talking about, Jules is a great coach as well. You should connect with Julie. We were talking about running an event together, maybe somewhere exotic-ish, because we want to bring more coaching, like I said, to exotic-ish. Jules said Bali, I said Dubai. Definitely not Milton Keynes, no offense to Milton Keynes. Or Cornwall, where you're based. Sign me up, yeah. So yeah, definitely a big event next year. I'm running a conference in May in Portugal called Mental Wealth for Education. And that's just like bringing people together in mental health support in Portugal, and talk about good practice. So yeah, I think do more work internationally, get more work in international schools. I'd love to see our community by 1,000 people by next year. We're at 100 now, so maybe 1,000 by next year. And another thing would be to give a kickback to countries where necessarily this can't be funded as easily. You know, you take a percentage of the sale for like an international school, 5-10%, and use that to then go and work in like a less economically developed country. And I want to run this bigger mental health conference for all of education. That's my thing, my bigger vision. It's not just the coaching, it's the bigger play, which is how can we transform mental health for staff and students? And for me at the moment, coaching is the vehicle, but that probably would change at some point. Anyway, Justin, Breezer, Claire, Julie, Kate, and Louise, thank you so much for being here. You lovely people. I appreciate you for giving it your 35 minutes. Yeah, Claire, just great to see you as well. I haven't seen you in years. So thanks for stopping by. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.
Thanks, Sam.
Cheers. Bye-bye.